That's it.
Drive.
Oh,
that's
funny.
I want to drive things right out loud.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, nobody's sitting with me? Got the cooties.
No, come on, we're going to do the twist here. By the way, that's what...
I call this meeting of Central Florida Facilitators Toastmasters Club 9958 to order. Thank you all for being here tonight, and please turn off your cell phones. And now we're going to take a 5-minute recess to...
So let's...
Going along with our theme of no regrets, I have 3 simple rules for life. 1, if you don't go after what you want, you'll never have it. 2, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. And 3, if you don't step forward, you will always be in the same place. With that, please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For our educational moment, I asked how many people are familiar with the Ambassador Club? Yeah. I thought this might be a good topic because I know we have quite a few new people. Going to the Ambassador Club or becoming part of the Ambassador Club is a great way for you to experience different clubs. You go to different clubs and you visit them, get to know them, you meet friends and have a good time with them. But the best part is that you get an opportunity to see how they do their meeting. Also, you could get ideas from them and possibly bring them back to us. Also, you could be a speaker there or a functionary. Now, to become an ambassador, the best way to do that, or the only way to do that, is you must visit 3 different clubs. Okay, you get a form, you have it signed and dated, you have it signed by one of their club officers, and then you fax it to the ambassador chair. Once the 3 forms are signed by 3 different clubs, because a lot of times people want to use the same club twice, it's not acceptable, it will be noted, and then you will become a District 84 ambassador. You will be recognized at the spring conference, and you will also receive an ambassador pin. There also is a contest. Would you believe that one person actually went to over 50 meetings? So do we have any overachievers here? You could become the Ambassador of the Year by going to visit other clubs. So I encourage you to go and do that. That's my few moments. And now I will invite back our President, Jonathan Dunn.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. It's really weird to me as I look out, everybody is on that side of the room, and Toni's all by her lonesome over there.
All the table tents were put
Following instructions.
Thank you, Mr. Sergeant at Arms. Thank you. Toni, you're not lonely, are you? I can come and sit at your table.
No, and you'll learn about that one from myself.
First off, we have a couple of awesome guests, returning visitors. Just in case their faces are new to somebody in the room, we're going to have them stand up, explain how they made it here, and what they hope to get out of this tonight. The first being the very distinguished looking gentleman with the glasses, Mr. Tim Rickey.
Online Crusade. We need members, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So I got Janet to come here tonight to see if you guys are...
Oh, that's great.
This will all work out for you because you're close to me and I live down the corner, so I can walk here.
Oh my goodness.
I was here at the very first meeting of this club when it started with Jessica years ago. You remember that? In the golf place?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a long
The
ago.
formation meeting?
Formation meeting, yeah. So I've always kind of been a part of this club. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Tim. To Tim's left, our guest, his guest, Janet.
Hello, Toastmasters. I'm Janet Legassi, and I'm here because I need something else in my life besides the elderly. Seriously, my job gets a little heavy sometimes, so I'm here to be happy and learn, improve myself. That's it.
I'm sure Tim can attest to it. Janet, you really came to the right place.
I just said that, you didn't hear me.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to use the power of 3. I was actually going to say it one more time before I left the podium, but now that you did, you stole my thunder. Toastmasters Leadership Institute is this weekend. Are there any officers that are sitting at a table that have any questions about that? Just that we're going to enroll ourselves in the program and then bring our receipt to the sergeant at arms, or the treasurer, Charlie, and he's going to reimburse us. So we have this Saturday. Looks like most of the sessions are between 9 and noon. There's a couple after that. Probably be 2 makeups after that. We pride ourselves in getting the 7 for 7. So just kind of be strategizing that in your head. Yes, Miss Toni.
Yes, I registered for the training. I thought I'd follow Willie and Alan around and make trouble for them.
Yes, Mr. Morgan.
Point out for the 20% discount at $2, it's got to be today, the pre-registration.
It's got to be today.
It's only $10.
Hey.
Other financing plans? Yes, Alan.
Well, no, it starts at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Notice my section isn't until, I think it's like 11:15 or 1:15.
Show up at 9.
But I still show up at 9, okay.
You can always go to another class, yeah.
You don't have to, but you can.
Okay. I just want to make sure so I know I plan my day, so.
I'll tell you, Alan, it's a free breakfast and lots of good bodybuilding foods are there. Of course, they built their money the wrong way, but they're there and they're part of the admission price.
Okay, then I guess I can't say no to that, right?
Any other announcements from the floor pertaining to anything? Which leads me to the next statement. If you didn't get the email through EasySpeak, we will have our first officer meeting, pre-planning meeting after next week's meeting. And it's always a lot of fun, as the previous officers can attest to. Yes, Toni.
I have a form for all of the members that are mentoring someone, and I'd like those filled out and returned to me. Maybe I'll make you do it before you leave, but be sure to see me. It's a pretty simple form. And then we have some guidelines. I know Mickey started to send you some guidelines, but there are some additional guidelines about mentoring new members, so I'll follow up with that.
I am really excited for tonight's meeting theme. I'm really excited about our Toastmaster this evening. She was greatly inspired last week by Mark Lockery's performance. Life with no regrets. Life with no regrets is going to be the topic tonight. I'm not going to say without further ado, by the way, Stephen, I finally learned my lesson.
Too late.
I know. I truly learned my lesson last week. I am thrilled for our Toastmaster this evening. She's jumping into the fray. She's sacrificing her time and her effort. She's showing what it means to be a Toastmaster. She looks absolutely lovely tonight. Her and her husband are 2 of my favorite people. Welcome to the lectern. Distinguished Toastmaster, our Toastmaster this evening, Miss Susan Morgan.
Thank you, everybody, and welcome this evening. I decided to pick this topic because I was going through a bunch of different things on the internet trying to figure out what would be a good thing. And I came across 10 ways to have no regrets in life. So I thought, well, why not? Let's try and see what we can come up with on that. So I have a few little things. One quote from Kurt Vonnegut: all of the words of mice and men, the saddest are, it might have been. So that's one of that. So forget the past, forget your age. Today's the first day of the rest of your life. At the end of it, let there be no excuses, no explanations, and no regrets. And the very first idea that they have on here is wear your truth. As long as you keep being you, as long as you keep staying true to yourself and the passions that move you, it doesn't matter how many jobs you get or don't get, how many mistakes you make, or how many times you have to do a U-turn. None of it matters. What matters is that you're living your truth. The people who need you will eventually find you, the real you, and you will find the people you need. You will find the answers you need, but more importantly, you will find the questions you would never have thought to ask. I thought that was very good. What I'm going to do now is call on first I'm going to make some changes to our agenda. First, Charlie called us to order instead of Willie. Willie couldn't make it today. And instead of Jorge Elias, we're going to have Linda Earls as our timer. And I do believe that. And then, got that one. Toni and Jonathan will both be speaking 5 to 7 minutes instead of 4 to 6. Just as a note. And now I want to introduce our functionaries. These are the people that are going to help keep us on track tonight. The first one is our grammarian, Sarah.
As grammarian, I've chosen the word of the day, which is tedium. That is the condition of being tedious. An example is, for most people, watching a weather channel for 24 hours would be sheer tedium. So it's being bored, dull, tedious. So try to use the word tedium. I will keep track of those who use the word of the day. For clubs with a fine, it's 25 cents for club members. And guests or members who have not yet given their icebreaker speech will not be fined. I will also listen for colorful imagery and exceptional use of vocabulary and grammar. At the end of the meeting, I will report on grammar usage and suggest where I see improvements can be made. Thank you.
And our timer is Linda Earls. Please.
One of the many skills Toastmasters practices expressing a thought within a specified time. As timer, I'm responsible for monitoring time for each speaker in each meeting segment. I will operate the timer signal, indicating each speaker how long he or she has been speaking. For our prepared speeches to qualify for voting, speakers must speak not less than 30 seconds under their range minimum and not more than 30 seconds over their range maximum. I will turn on the green light at the range minimum, yellow light mid-range, and red light at range maximum. Please forgive the tedium if you've already heard this. The table topic speakers will have green light at 5, yellow 6, red at 7 minutes. For evaluators, we will have a 1 to 3 minutes. Sorry. Oh, I see. 1 minute and 30 seconds because you have that 30-second leeway. So the green light 2, yellow light 2.5, red light at 3 minutes. And of course, our table topics are from 1 to 2 minutes. Got to make it to that 1 minute point, but you can go up to 2.5 minutes. Thank you so much.
Our Wizard of Oz this evening is James Riggs. Tell us what you're going to do.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. In order to improve the quality of our speech, the all-counter's job is to make us aware of disruptive audible crutches such as and you know, as well as double crutches or double clutches, which is the repetition of a word while the speaker searches for their next thought. I will also notice sentences that are strung together with bridge words such as and, so, or like. I will sound a buzzer when I hear any of these infractions. Please note that this is not to cause embarrassment, but to get immediate feedback on an area that needs improvement. The fine for each infraction is 10 cents. Guests and members who have not given their icebreaker will not be fined. And at the end of the meeting, I will give a report.
Thank you, James. And our supervisor of elections or vote counter would be Mickey D. Tell us how
The most difficult job tonight. I am so lazy today. It is not even funny. I called Susan today and I said, I was supposed to be the timer, and I said, could you please put me as a vote counter? I don't want to put my mind to work in any way. So she was kind and helped me with that. Now, I am begging Mr. Table Topics Master. Please don't look at me. I am begging you. Just let me be.
Since you asked, oops.
Since I asked, I'm going to be the first one. Okay, back to business, so I get over with this fast. As vote counter, I'll pick up your ballots for best speaker, best table topic speaker, best evaluator, and most improved speaker. I will tell you the results for award presentations at the end of the meeting. I will also pick up any comments you might have written for the speakers or any meeting participant and deliver the comments to the appropriate person. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
The second thing that they have on this list is take time before it's too late. Before you know it, you'll be asking, how did it get late so soon? Take some time to figure yourself out. Take time to realize what it is you want. Take time to take risks. Take time to love, laugh, cry, and forgive. Life is shorter than it often seems. Take time before it's too late. Look straight ahead and say yes to the opportunities coming your way. Happiness and success never come back to look for you while you wait around. You've got to go out there, take chances, and work at it to make your dreams come true. I think that's a longer version of what Pat said this morning, at the beginning of the meeting. Our next section is our prepared speeches. And I am very excited to hear these speeches tonight. Jonathan Dunn, 4-time decorated most decorated speaker.
Do you want me to go first or John?
Oh, you're right. I have that backwards.
And I can relax
on my
myself.
page. I put you up front on my introductions. Okay, let's change this and start with Toni. Toni failed miserably at her first speaking engagement, a book report in the 3rd grade. The report itself went well, but she started toward her seat thinking the experience was over. Then, similar to table topics, the teacher blindsided her with various questions about the book's characters. The questions were unexpected and the assignment didn't indicate to be prepared for questions. Toni failed to give coherent answers to the questions. The silence was frightening and embarrassing, I can only imagine. Everyone in her class gave 2 book reports, the second one for extra credit. Toni, however, was too humiliated to give a second report. She regrets that her 3rd grade teacher did not encourage her or help her to be successful. After this incident, throughout school, she strategized to avoid speaking in front of groups and getting called on in class. It wasn't until her master's degree program, where the class size was small and the competition for grades was critically important, that she finally got the courage to speak up. She has been a Toastmaster for over 11 years. When feeling overly challenged by projects in the advanced manual, she reverts back to the basic communication manual to strengthen the core principles of public speaking. Giving her 8th icebreaker speech, please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Toni.
Extrovert, introvert. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our distinguished guests. I know by now you have heard these terms before. Extrovert, introvert. You may even have taken 1 or 2 personality tests to verify which one of these identified who you were. Actually, I've been doing some research about this, and there's a book called Quiet: The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. Really got my attention. It's by Susan Cain. And she talks about definitions, and that there's no one definition of extroverts and introverts. And the first individual to actually use these terms was Carl Jung in 1921. And he gave his definition of what the terms meant, which actually are pretty close to what some of the other current psychologists are talking about. So there's no agreement, and you may have a definition in your mind of what you think they mean, but I thought I'd go through a few of the characteristics or the qualities of people that are extroverted to introvert, as well as introverted. And then, well, we'll talk about me, because it's my icebreaker, right? But maybe you can get engaged a little bit more with this. Introverts and extroverts differ in the level of outside stimulation that they need to function well. Introverts feel just right with less stimulation. So an activity like having wine with a close friend, solving a crossword puzzle, reading a book suits introverts quite well. Extroverts really get their bang out of life from the activities and the engagements with people. They like activities that involve meeting new people, partying. We have any partiers? We have 1 or 2 in here. Or even cranking up the stereo loud. They like a lot of stimulation. An introvert, how do they spend their time on vacation? Well, they would rather sit on a beach and read a book as opposed to going on a cruise ship and partying for 7 days. There's also agreement that introverts and extroverts work differently. And I thought this was really important. So see what fits for you. Extroverts tend to tackle assignments quickly. They make fast, sometimes rash, decisions, but are comfortable with multitasking and risk-taking. They enjoy the thrill of the chase for rewards like status and money. Introverts often work more slowly and deliberately. They like to focus on one task at a time, and they have mighty powers of concentration. They're relatively immune to the lure of wealth and fame. Well, there's a lot of other things that we could talk about, but that gives you an introduction to the differences between extroverts and introverts. So, now that you have some basic information, how do you rate yourself? So all those extroverts, I know you don't mind raising your hands. So raise your hand if you feel you're more on the extrovert scale than on the introvert scale. That's interesting, about half. Okay, so if you're an introvert and feel like you can raise your hand, go ahead. And Mickey can't even raise her hand, okay? I expected that. Okay, so great. So you've got a little identification going on here, and according to the personality test, you probably have some of both qualities, but feel more inclined toward one section. So, how many of you identify me as an extrovert? Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So how many of you identify me as an introvert? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, the extroverts win, but you lose. Because I'm not. I'm what they call a pretend extrovert. Yes. And she talks about this in this book, and it made my life so much more relaxed and easier because I felt like I had 2 personalities growing up. I definitely had this introverted and very shy personality, very sensitive, very upset when there was criticism, like the teacher gave me, but she didn't give me criticism, but she put me on the spot. Didn't like that at all. And then there's a part of me that all of you see here at Toastmasters. And throughout my work life, I've definitely had to be the extrovert. I was in sales, I was a teacher, I had a lot of responsibility, I traveled the world. You can't be an introvert and do that without being really, really uncomfortable. So I have a switch. It's right here in the back of my head. So when I need to be an extrovert, I just flip it. And lo and behold, here I am at Toastmasters. And most of you thought I was an extrovert. I'm a pretend extrovert. So let's talk about that a little more, because some of you are probably confused about me, not about yourselves. There's a very interesting little checklist in here that it says, even if you don't answer all of the questions true, it doesn't mean you're an introvert, but there were only 2 questions that I didn't answer true, so I don't know, it kind of nailed it for me. I prefer one-on-one conversations to group activity. I really do. I really enjoy getting to know an individual. Sometimes when I'm in a group, or like our banquet, there's like so many people here. Where do you even begin to socialize with people? But I turned my switch on, so that was good. I often prefer to express myself in writing, thus notes. I'm a writer, not a speaker, apparently. I enjoy solitude. Actually, I missed the Morgan's party. There were varying circumstances. I didn't go to the Scott Hunn's party. Everybody was wondering where I was. I was reading this book, actually. Okay, well, there's a lot of other qualities. So thank goodness I had this extrovert switch, because it allowed me to be very successful in my career. I was an instructor at Baylor College of Medicine. I worked in a hospital. I worked for one of the most intelligent human beings on the planet who was an inventor in our industry, and he sent me overseas when we got invitations to lecture. So I've lectured in at least 8 different countries. I can't even remember all of them. China, South Africa, England, Spain, Germany, and some of those were even translated. So after all these years, I'm still a work in progress. Work in progress, Toastmasters, here I am. But I'm not upset about the qualities that make me an introvert. I have no regrets about being an introvert. I know I've made my contribution and I will continue to do so, and to me, that's the most important thing. And to be able to live with myself, because after all, Mom is 97, I could be here another 30, 40 years. Madam Toastmaster. And I don't mind sitting alone, but if you want to join me, I'm like totally okay.
Yeah, how the heck did that go wrong?
I was following instructions.
Oh.
Thank you, Toni. And Madam Timer, may we have 1 minute on the clock so that we can write some comments to Toni, and I will be quiet during that time. Thank you, Linda. The number 3 on this list is be the leader of your own journey. There are far too many capable people who don't pursue their dreams and goals because they let their fears of others talk them out of it. They give up before they even try and simply let life's river flow them downstream. Choose to be stronger than that. Choose to swim upstream when you have to. Choose to do things in life that move you. Let others lead small lives. Let others argue over small things. Let others cry over small wounds. Let others leave their future in someone else's hands, but not you. Go ahead and take those risks. Be your own leader. Definitely. Jonathan Dunn, 4-time most decorated speaker, our president, business owner, 3-time divorcee, parent, owner of a Chihuahua. The list goes on and on, but as our next speaker has experienced this journey called life, he has come to realize a man isn't his possessions, his accomplishments, or his job, but instead what is in their heart. Here with his facade down to share with us his heart, please welcome our next speaker, Jonathan Dunn.
Trends. Fellow Toastmasters, most honored guests, have you ever kind of noticed that your life follows trends? You keep experiencing the same things over and over again, even though they might be in different forms. I spend a lot of time thinking about my own life, things that went wrong, things that went right. And I came up with the idea that there's really two sorts of people out there. You've got the people that they run towards the things that bring them pleasure. And then you have the people, there always seems to be drama following them. There always is something negative going on with them. You don't even want to call them because you know when they pick up the phone, it's going to be the hammer coming down. And they run to that pain. I had an all-new category myself. I kept running towards the pleasure, probably a little too much, and it brought me over to the pain time and time again. And I thought, when did my journey to Toastmasters begin? How does this all fit in together? And I figured out it all started in 1982. It was time for me to quit being the kid that got picked on to the kid that did the picking. I signed up for Pop Warner football. And not only that, I asked to play quarterback of the team. It was time for some pleasure. Except the coach of the team had a son that was on the team. So with no tryouts at all, his son was the quarterback. It was really my first lesson that life can be quite unfair. It was that precise moment that I began to absolutely hate figures of authority. That's really carried on through most of my life. I spent the next year of my life blocking for this kid who repeatedly condescended towards me. I did let a few of the linebackers go by me occasionally, even though the coach was going to scorn me. So I got picked on for the next 4 years. It was time to start a new school. Lake Brantley High School, home of the Patriots. Once again, I figured signing up for the football team was the key to all my problems. That summer, things were going along well until we entered into the weight room. I had my very first experience with a bench press. The coach thought all of us underdeveloped boys whose bones were still growing that it was a bright idea to have us bench press, with absolutely no instruction at all. Alan, you totally understand how devastating that could be. I had no clue to tell him what I wanted on the bar, so I sized up this kid. His name was Matt, and I watched what he did, and I figured, what one man can do, so can another. Not true in this case, because that bar came down on my chest in front of 50 kids. I was gasping for air all the while they were laughing. And they did let me sit there for quite a while. Ran out of the room crying. never went back to football practice. It magnified the bullying, and then to make matters worse, the two friends that I actually had, their parents did not like Lake Brantley, and they sent them off to Catholic school. So I was all alone for the next 4 years. And I started to really develop my identity at that part, and I said I meant to just be alone. That's it. But then I thought, once again, I'm going to go to the pleasure. I'm going to get money. I'm going to buy things, and I'm going to be better than all these kids. I had a totally misplaced idea. And I got a job at Public Supermarkets, one of the greatest places to work. And it was. I finally started to find acceptance. And some young ladies that had some interest in me. I hit 18 years old, and I thought, I'm not going to go to college, and I'm going to work my way up to the ranks of Publix. And they invited me to join the stock crew, the full-time stock crew, that went in at 3 o'clock in the morning. I signed up. My very first day, they said, welcome to the team. The words, finally, I've been waiting to hear my whole entire life. I was on a team, and it felt really good. Right up until my 19th birthday, when they called me to the cardboard baler. I figured it was one of my initiation tasks to bale the cardboard. Except when I got to the cardboard baler, they pulled my pants down and beat me with a metal meat tray. And then sent me in a truck back to Lakeland. Once again, when I got my wits about me, I figured I meant to be alone. And I'm going to show these people I'm better than them. I outworked them, I hustled them, and I became their boss so that I could return the favor. And I started to live in this jail cell of having thoughts like that. And I'm going to tell you what. You may think highly of me, and maybe you should, but I sinned with the absolute best of them. My whole identity was about ambition and getting things. I got a great car, I got a great house. You've heard the story. And I was just sitting in that prison cell. The doors were wide open, waiting for me to come out, but I was too darn comfortable. And it really started to get to me. Fortunately, the universe had a different idea for me. And everything got stripped away. My little cool facade that I had created was abruptly ripped away from me when I lost it all, and at 36 years old had to move back in with my mom and dad into my old bedroom. Kind of hard to pretend you're something more than that when you're 36 living with your mom and dad. I did this. I fell to my knees. My whole life I had turned my back on God, who was trying to help me all along. And I kept repeating those experiences because he wanted me to learn something. And I said, please, I know I've turned my back on you my whole life, but I've got to get to know you now. I'm going to trust you finally and have faith. It was kind of a Mr. Miyagi type experience, some of the lessons he put me through. But I had a lady one day tell me my story inspired her at a seminar that I was attending. And I thought to myself, as I watched a fellow Toastmaster improve, that maybe I need to come to Toastmasters and improve my skill. And I tell you what, I found meaning in all that. I know now my purpose on this world is very simple. Love each and every one of you and love God. And now, finally, I'm lost in all of that freedom. Madam Toastmaster.
Linda, if we could have one more minute on top for comments to Jonathan. calculated risks. There's no excuse for being an amateur forever. Life is short, the day is rapidly approaching when the risk to remain perched on your nest is far more detrimental than the risk it takes to fly. So fly, spread your wings, start now. What a disgrace it would be for you to grow old without ever seeing the beauty and the strength of your full potential. The next one I wanted to read real quick too because this is so important. Change your thoughts. Thoughts are power. They create and destroy. What is possible is everything. What you do is up to you. Look around and you will see that almost your entire life has been born out of your thoughts. Know this and plant your seeds accordingly. You can change your mind at any moment, so go ahead. Change it right now, if you want. Our next portion of the meeting, oh yeah, we need to get a timer's report. Please may I have a timer's report, Linda?
It came down to the very seconds. And unfortunately, Miss Toni was 5 seconds too long. And Jonathan was only under by 4 seconds, so it was really a photo finish.
All right. Thank you, Linda. Table topics, the funnest part of the meeting. There will be no tedium here, I'm sure. By day, Stephen is a software engineer and an expert Java developer with Apple. He received his master's degree in computer engineering from the University of Florida. By night, Stephen is a professional hypnotist, hypnosis trainer, NLP trainer, computer repairer, and website hoster. In what free time he can imagine having, Stephen also pursues interests in the internet, singing, songwriting, board games, movies, books, his wife Susan, and their, 5 children. We think he breathes once in a while, sometimes, but we're not sure about sleep. That's definitely the truth. Please help me welcome Stephen Morgan.
Okay. Now we get to work on our impromptu extemporaneous speaking skills. And perhaps if you're lucky, Toni can provide you with some additional questions on the work you've done to prepare. And see how well we've all learned, yes. You'll have 1 to 2 minutes that you are aiming for. At least that's what the lights will go for, up to 2 minutes 30 seconds before you're disqualified. But you have to reach that green light at 1 minute, and our timer will be keeping that up here and turning, I'm sure, to show everyone where they are. And with our theme of no regrets. Have any of you seen any of the memes going around on the internet showing the various things you should not regret? The particular one, the nurse at the bedside of everyone who's dying, and those things that they are always that they regret on the deathbed.
Yeah.
That one keeps getting reprinted over and over. I'm really wondering who that nurse is now, because she could have made a lot of money if she'd actually bothered, or he, whichever it would have been. But somehow I think it's just something invented. But you may have seen it, and some of those certainly may make you wonder and ponder. One of those, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. What was one of those moments you really wish you'd expressed those feelings? Ooh, everyone's looking away. This is good.
I just have my back to you.
Jorge, Elias. When was one of those times you wish you had expressed your feelings that you regret you did not?
Many times. One that really gets to my heart is one time when my mom was sick, again, and I'm sorry if I bore you. Every time I get a question, I refer back to my mom, my home, and everything. But anyway, while growing up, being in Bolivia in high school, every afternoon I get home at noon, eat lunch, then go to play. And usually go to movies, go with the friends, walk in the streets, just be out of the house. One time my mom was sick, and she asked me, please stay with me. And I said, no, I had to go with my friends. I went with my friends, and I had the worst time of my life. I was thinking about my mom all the time. She never asked me for anything, but that one day she did ask me for me to stay with her, keep her company while she was sick. She needed maybe just have me there. Everybody else was gone. I was the only one there, and I felt her. I wish I had that regret to stay there. I said, yes, I'll stay with you. We watch a movie or we talk, whatever. Mr. Toastmaster.
One way of thinking about regret is it could be that there's something you wish you had done you hadn't, or it's something that you did do you wish you hadn't. Which of those is worse? Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Boy, have I got a bunch of those. How about losing $250,000 in a matter of 3 months? I started a business in the Winter Park Mall called The Little Jeweler. I'm a gemologist and a jeweler, and I can repair jewelry while you watch. That was the whole idea of it. And we moved in there November 1st, and January 1st, 9 stores pulled out. And it became, hello pennies, hello Ivies, because that's all that was left. There was no way to make any money in there. We had invested $250,000 in equipment and the kiosks, and advertising, all of those sort of things. And we went from a really good income, having a very successful residential cleaning company, to that where we had no income above just meeting expenses. And plus, now how do you survive? Well, you use credit cards. So you can imagine the complete flip from going from one end of the scale to the other. And ended up, at the end, this is over 20 years ago, ended up filing bankruptcy by the end of the year and starting all over again in the same industry I was in the first place. And of course that's smooth, because I knew it. So the regret I had was the fact that I did it in the first place, although there's nothing I could have done that would have told me that they were moving. There's just no way to do it, so you can't really blame yourself to some degree, But that's probably the biggest regret that I've ever had. Where's the word of the day?
Tedium.
Tedious? Tedious? Tedium?
Tedious.
Well, that's called soccer. Thank you.
That sounds like a completely different topic. One of those regrets that supposedly comes on the deathbed. You hear, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life that others expected of me. Which are you living, Alan? Oh,
Yes!
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Well, to answer your question, I feel that I am still finding exactly what it is that I want to do, so therefore I have to not go with the first one you said, right? And what was the second one now? Living the life to my own, right?
The life that being life true to yourself, or the life others expect of you.
Okay, so I'm still finding out exactly what I want to do for a life that I would consider to be true to myself. So therefore I am still in the boundaries of the first choice you said, where I'm living the life of what others What you said again? what one is expected of you. So, and maybe that is part of the journey. Maybe that is what you have to do in life. As Tim said, he thought he was doing the right thing, but you don't know until you actually go out there and you try it. And that's how you kind of learn that process. And that's how you're going to learn the differentiation of where you're at and the difference between the two. So until I find out different, I am still in the first one you said and trying to confirm the second one you said. That's your Tim talks about.
Janet, now that you've seen a few, would you be interested in answering one yourself?
It's okay, I'll try it.
You'll try one, okay. One of those regrets is I wish I hadn't worked so hard. So what's the hardest you've ever had to work?
The hardest I've ever had to work is the last 19 years at Baptist Church with all the elderly people. Because I care so much. I care too much for them, and I'm like the mother to them, I'm the social worker to them, I'm the daughter to them, and I love them so much, and my passion is the elderly, but I sort of sometimes let them take over my whole life, and I don't have another life. So I need to stop and set boundaries with them and not allow them to take over my life. And that's the realization that I'm getting these days, big time in my mind. And I've worked hard my whole life, really. I started working at the age of 12, mowing lawns and doing people's laundry and babysitting. And so I'd like to retire. I'm going to be 58 at the end of the month. And I really would like to retire. That's one of my goals. But thank you, Mr. Table Talk.
Everyone who didn't have a particular speaking role, but there's still time. Therefore, I can move on to others. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends being one of those regrets. Which of those friends that you've lost touch do you most regret? James.
Very good friend in high school. His name was Dexter. We were best friends for 4 or 5 years. And then after we left high school, we kind of went our own way. He settled down, had a family, and I began a career. It was probably 7 or 8 years that went by until he finally reached out to me. And he asked how I was doing, and we sat down and had coffee one day, and we caught up, and it was just a joy to touch base and to reach out to this guy's heart in response to him. But it was kind of sad because of all the time that had gone by, the friendship that had been lost, the time that had been wasted. So it was bittersweet. The sweet part was now here's a chance to reconnect. Here's a chance to rebuild on the foundation we'd already established. But the bitter part was the wasted years. So thank you, Mr. Taylor.
One more in here, I'm sure. With oh, Mickey, you had that request, right?
Yes, yes.
One of those great regrets is I wish that I had let myself be happier. So how would you be more happier, Mickey?
You know how much I love this club. And it's not only because of the people here, but because I don't have that feeling of tedium throughout the meeting. This is the reason that I keep coming every single Wednesday. in spite of this terrible segment of the meeting. Still, even though I hate it, even though I'm not good at it, I was afraid that you are not going to ask me a question tonight. Only because I like Jonathan's motto, bring it on. I think I got to that level that I'm able to say, bring it on. What would make me happier is to have the time to go back to school as a full-time student. This would make me happier. Of course, it is not possible, but one can only dream. Thank you, Mr. Tabletop. Did we make you happy? Yes. Okay. Yes.
Madam Timer, can we have a timer's report for the table?
George, at 1 minute 29 seconds, spoke on expressing feelings. Tim, 1 minute 38 seconds with did do or didn't do, which was worse. Alan with 1 minute 44 seconds, true to self or expected. Janet, unfortunately didn't qualify with 54 seconds.
Really?
When she worked the hardest. James, in touch with friends, 1 minute 12 seconds. And Nikki, wish you were happier, how? With 1 minute 14 seconds. All qualify except for Janet.
Well, I must say I regret the tedium of table topics is now over. Therefore, Madam Toastmaster, the lectern is yours.
Okay, I was looking through the rest of my little notes here to give you something good. And I think the one I'm going to share with you now to end my little section of the meeting is number 9, which is share your love openly and honestly with those you love. No matter what you're going to lose people in your life, realize that no matter how much time you spend with someone or how much you appreciate them, sometimes it will never seem that you had enough time together. Don't learn this lesson the hard way. Express your love. Tell the people you need to tell. Don't shy away from important conversations because you feel awkward or uncomfortable. You never know when you might lose your opportunity. So, as they say, share your love openly and honestly with those that you love, and hey, maybe even those that you don't love. That's my little bit of advice. And now it's time for me to turn the lectern over. Well, yep, I'll pick it up and turn it upside down. Change hands here to our general evaluator, who is our most wonderful first-time general evaluator, and I am sure he's going to do an excellent job. Please help me welcome Alan Lanfair.
As she said, I'm going to try to do a good job for us tonight and avoid any kind of tedium. So, evaluating our first speaker tonight, Toni Gittles, is Pat Stagner. Pat has been a member of CECF and a competent communicator for 3 years. She is now focusing on becoming a better evaluator and enhancing her listening skills. Pat currently is the co-chair of the Supervisor Committee for Making Strides Against Breast Cancer, event sponsored by the American Cancer Society. She is looking for team members for the 5K walk, sponsors, and any contribution for finding a cure against cancer. So please help me introduce Pat as the evaluator for Toni. Of course.
Fellow Toastmasters, especially Toni. One thing I could say is Tony's speech was not tedium. Tony, you had a great introduction. You had us kind of set up for your life story, as I thought it was going to be, as an icebreaker. I loved the way you presented your speech. It was completely original. When you first started out talking about the extroverts and the introverts, I was a little kind of confused because I was like, oh, she's going to teach us about extroverts and introverts. What's that got to do with an icebreaker? Me thinking it's going to be about you. But you did. You gave us a little bit of everything. You actually went over, you know, how you did a lot of traveling, you got your master's, you had awesome jobs, you liked being alone. You also told us that you had a split personality. I mean, dual. You were introverted and extroverted. I still loved how that was original. You also told us how you like to write, you like your solitude, and you did great body gestures. You had your books, you read some quotes. I just thought you did an awesome job. As far as trying to come up with any suggestions, the only thing that I could think of for a suggestion was, for me in the beginning, and I could be totally dead wrong here, but as an icebreaker, I was thinking it was going to be about your life. So the way you started kind of threw me off track. Other than that, I think you covered everything. I kept looking through my notes to find something that I could possibly add to make your speech better. One other thing was I wasn't sure about the ending, and it could have been just that I was so involved in my own notes that I missed the ending. I would have to hear you say it again to respond to that. So that would be the only suggestion I could make, is maybe start out with you and then go into the introvert and extrovert example. Lots of enthusiasm, lots of facial expressions, hand movement, and what I thought also was really good for you, Toni, is you had notes, but you never used them. So I think you did a great job.
Charlie has been a Toastmaster for about 5 years, and he finds evaluation the most exciting of the functions he has performed. And here is why. No other format gives one the chance to congratulate the speaker on his or her speech and praise them on the delivery, and also give them constructive criticism on how to improve on their next speech, and then with the encouragement to speak again. So please help me introduce Charlie Bumbler.
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, especially Mr. Jonathan Dunn. Jonathan, your speeches are never tedium. You bring an excitement to this room every time you speak. Partly because no one knows what's going to come out of your mouth or what crazy props you may come up with. Tonight is a dead June night here because this is a repeat of a couple of years ago, I believe by now, that you made a speech and I evaluated you, and you were wearing the very sad outfit.
That was the idea.
I saw that as soon as you walked in, and I figured, I know I'm going to get to evaluate him. I'll get back to that in a minute. But first I want to tell you your good parts that you did. Your voice has actually improved dramatically since you began the Toastmasters. You do change your volume at times now. And sometimes you still go a little high once in a blue moon, but not anything near what you used to do. Your hand gestures and your body language were appropriate for the speech. If I may suggest something, I don't know why, but sometimes you seem to be a little stiff when you speak, and it could be because of the nature of the speech, because it's kind of hard when you start speaking about yourself at times in a negative form that you were doing, and I understand that you can get a little nervous on that. Sometimes you give out such a great image that you could hear a pin drop when you speak, and that's a plus for you, because everybody's got their eyes focused on you. Now, I remember that I was very gentle with you the first time that I heard you speak in that outfit. I kindly told you, please dress appropriately when you speak. No shirts out, no jeans. So tonight I'm not going to rag on you too much on that. But you know what, Jonathan? 2 wrongs don't make it right. So I'm looking forward to the next time that you speak, because I know you will be properly dressed. Mr. General Evaluator.
Get him, Charlie.
All right, well, I think it's safe to say that we haven't avoided any signs of tedium tonight. So, as far as the overall meeting goes,
Timer's
we're doing...
report.
Oh, and before I get into that, can I get a timer's report, please?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. We have 2 qualified evaluators, Pat with 2 minutes, 29 seconds, Charlie with 3 minutes and 9 seconds.
Okay, thank you. So, as I was saying, excellent meeting again tonight, and keeping us on time. And I do have one, maybe kind of stemming back to last week, being a patriot, with the one qualification on the speech, 5 minutes over. Is there any way we can rule that in favor of being, looked at the other way?
Which
That would have been Toni's.
Oh,
Because it was five seconds over, right?
I have no problem with that.
It's,
Does that, everybody agree with that?
I asked for 6 to 8, didn't
We said
No, you said 5%.
we've already cast votes. on
Yeah,
that.
I don't think that's
I bet you the vote counter has already put the name on down the.
Yeah.
ticket.
Okay. So, all right, well, I tried, but...
Hey, sweetie,
Vote for the best evaluator.
Yes, we just had the time.
Oh,
Here you go. I didn't give you the best.
okay. So that's getting around there. But again, a great meeting, and as far as some of these points, we opened up with 3 really great points, which, I mean, you have to keep in mind every day. If you don't ask for what you want, you'll never get it. If you don't go after what you want, you're never going to have it. And if you don't take a step forward, you're always going to be in the same place. So, really great advice there. And I really liked the way 2 of our most distinguished Toastmasters here tonight kind of took a, looked in the past, and then they gave their icebreaker speeches and had really great points for us. For Toni, we learned a little bit more about her, and what she was telling us about the introverts and the extroverts. And I thought it was a really awesome job how you did that, how you kind of threw us for that loop where more people thought that you were the other way, and how long have we all known you? So it just goes to show that you don't really know a person like you always think to do. But that's good. I mean, that was great, and I loved how you got the audience involved, engaged, and I learned about being a pretend extrovert. I'm thinking I'm in that same boat with you, and just telling us about the qualities that you consider make you an introvert. But well done, and John, never with with the loss of words, and talking about trends, and just I liked how you gave us the step. You're running towards the pleasures, but it always would just lead to pain. And you gave us examples time and time again until you reach that point in your life where you just let go. And you really found kind of where I was hit with in the table topics. Everybody has that point, and that was what it was for you. And I thought that was just, that was really great. It was a very personal speech, and I learned a lot from you on it. And I thought it was very well done, like always. So, with our table topics, again, it flows really well with the meeting here, and giving us these tough questions. And not gonna lie, Stephen, when you gave me that question, David, I kind of felt like I was on my deathbed there, even though I wasn't. But it was very well done. Fits well with the theme of the meeting here, and overall with the evaluators, again, very good. Pat, I agreed with everything you said about Toni. And I agree as far as it was good insight, just giving her some tips on how she could optimize a little bit of the organization in it. And Charlie, I loved how you used the great humor with John's speech. And then, wow, I can't believe you actually remember that stuff. Way before. So, but overall, again, a very great job from everybody, and again, I'm glad I'm part of this group, and I'm part of this organization. Oh, and then before I go back to my seat here, could I get a functionary report?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. For Susan, I had one double clutch, one bridge word. Toni, got a goose egg today. Jonathan, one double clutch. Stephen, also a goose egg. Jorge, one ah. Tim, one ah. Alan.
Yeah, no. I'll work it on it.
We'll keep it around 7. Myself, I'm at 4, and a couple of double clutches. Mickey, none for you that I noticed. And Pat, I had one double clutch. And that is my report. Thank you.
Okay.
You didn't have any.
Oh, and Sarah, could you give us your rundown?
8 people used the word of the day. Alan used it twice, so that was good. Susan used it. Pat, Mickey, Alan, Linda, Tim, Stephen, and Charlie. So good job. And some of the colorful phrases that I heard from Susan: wear your truth. It's nice. Jonathan, a couple of them, live in a jail cell with girls like that. And the Mr. Miyagi type experience was nice. James, the wasted years. Mickey, bring it on each week, I hope. Toni, I like the pretend extrovert, and that was switching the back of my head. Tim, the tedium sounds like soccer. Don't agree. I'm going to put that as bad grammar usage.
I'm sorry, I was born in the U.S.
Stop and set boundaries. And Charlie, 2 wrongs don't make a right. I like all of those. Thank you.
So now it is that time again for John to make his way up here and present the awards.
At this time, if you could cast your vote for the most improved Toastmaster. And wow, we really finished early tonight, and I realized that early, so I decided that we're going to have another table topics portion right here. Mickey?
Here, Mickey.
Just kidding, Mickey. And Alan, I guess now we can add you to that grouping. We would love to hear from the guests. Tim, what'd you think tonight?
You guys had a lot of fun tonight, and to me it's important that it seems excitement and fun. And that's always like to be seen. It'd be nice if the tables were aligned the other way, because we're in a line here, it's kind of rough that way. But
yeah,
with what's coming tomorrow, I can understand how it was done. Great meeting. Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. Janet, when can we expect your sign up?
I need the money, so. No, seriously, I'm going to probably, if I can post date a check. Yeah, till the next meeting. Sure.
Just give
For sure. Just get with Charlie and Alan, and really, for what you said you're looking for, it's a light attended meeting tonight. It's second, week in July. It's really exactly what you're looking for.
Oh, I know, exactly.
I've been telling her for 4 years.
We would love to have and we'd love to have that gentleman here more often as well as a member. Now, Mickey, if you aren't passing around a sign-up sheet for next week, we really are going to do more table topics. I really am going to pick you first.
I forgot again. Oh, dear.
Okay. We'll go ahead and pull out a scrap sheet of paper. Do we have any pre-sign-ups for speaking?
I know I signed, I didn't sign up for speaker, but I didn't finish my speech, so.
Easy speak.
Nobody.
I will send an email tomorrow morning.
Well, how about we go ahead and get what we can get tonight? Let's, I doubt anybody pre-signed up for Toastmaster. Do we have any volunteers for Toastmaster?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yay! Toni, Al will be looking for you
I have
soon.
newfound confidence after my speech.
We've got a Toastmaster. Toni, do you have a topic bouncing around in your head?
Yeah, introvert, extrovert.
Absolutely.
I didn't finish it. It's a long book with 271 footnotes.
So introvert, extrovert. Do we have any introvert people that want to sign up for speeches? Charlie! Do we have anyone else? Jorge, we didn't get to see you this week, or?
No, I may be out of town next week, so I want to commit. So.
Okay. Anyone else would like to speak?
Well, I can fill up the time.
Does anybody have any objections if I speak again? Well, I got rusty with all that time off, and I want to revert back to the old ways.
What, the whole month?
Mickey, really? Oh my gosh!
Mickey's going to speak.
Okay, good. That means I'm going to evaluate. Oh, well, I don't want to jump into it. Does anybody who wants to evaluate? We have 2 speakers. Of course, we can take 3. Sarah, fantastic. Do you have any other evaluators? Mickey, you can put me down to evaluate and general evaluator. GE.
You might need to ask who's going to be here at this point.
Oh, dear. What's next week? That's another holiday, isn't it?
We're just taking the kids to
You can
the
take it.
museum.
Yeah, we're up
Yeah.
next too.
Mr. Riggs, Mickey is going to be table topics master. And if it worst comes to it, because these are vacation weeks here, I can do GE and evaluator. So James will be table topics, miscellaneous functionaries.
Well, just put me in wherever you need me.
Okay. Janet, you want to jump into a functionary role?
Not the timer, that's too scary.
I'll be a third.
I'll do
Count
with
on.
my counter.
Okay, hey, Mickey, Linda Earls is going to be a speaker.
All right.
Okay, good.
So we have
So then we got Tim. Are you going to come next week?
Yeah.
Good. So you got them. Good. We're set. Awesome.
We have 3 speakers then?
3 speakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Yes. Do we have any announcements from the floor? Believe it or not, my tongue is tied.
Oh, you're going to.
Well, see.
Yes, Charles.
Just a reminder for everyone again to please leave the tables, found them, because we need to have this really spotlessly.
That's all I have, that's all I got.
Okay, any other announcements? Once again, Toastmasters Leadership Institute. We'll all be signing in the same place. I'll be looking for you so we can connect in the morning. It's going to be really fun. If there's anybody that's not a current officer that wants to go, sign up and go. There's going to be some neat stuff. I saw the agenda. And then we'll have our first officer meeting next Wednesday. Yes?
I just,
Toni.
as far as the list I have for Mickey, as far as mentors, mentees, if Jonathan, Stephen, Morgan, and Charlie could pick up one of these forms, you can keep it, but make a Xerox copy of the front of it, or
Okay.
just so I just have something to put in a file. But there's a lot of information about your responsibilities on here. Thank you.
Okay. And for any of you that are going on vacation next week, we'll miss you and hope you have a freaking awesome time. You deserve it, Morgan. Although it seems like you've been going on a lot of vacations.
No, this will be the actual.
Vacation. The
Gotcha.
other ones were vacation.
Seemed like there was some at the beach recently.
Yeah, we have done that, but we did miss a meeting.
I want to fill it and bring the check next week.
Great. Well, we're going to miss you. It's going to be weird without you here. Seriously weird. Yes, Toni.
Mickey, could you add to the schedule that I'll be out starting August 27th? Finally going to have my surgery, and I'll be looking for a ride. After the first 3 weeks, I won't be driving for about 6 weeks or so. So I'll check with you later, and even though I'm an introvert, if you could come visit me later on, I'll remind you. You know, bring me dinner, whatever. It'll be nice. It's a long recovery. I'll have the wine. I'll provide the wine.
Okay, it's award time. It's award time. Tim Chastain was one of the founders of this club, made tonight possible. We give out the Tim Chastain Award to a Toastmaster who goes above and beyond the call of duty. And while there were many people that stepped into roles tonight, she's such a sweet person. Our Tim Chastain tonight for stepping into the role of timer is going to go to Linda Earls.
Yay.
This is so deserved. The most improved Toastmaster award this evening goes to, I didn't even recognize her as she gave her table topics.
Right.
I said, who is that? Mickey Dumitrescu.
No regrets, no regrets.
Which brings us to the award for Best Table Topic Speaker. And Stephen, those were some awesome questions, dude. Awesome questions. She's got to come back up here again. Mickey Dumitrescu. Yeah, that was good. You are smooth as can be. And while I may disagree with the next result for personal reasons, our Best Evaluator Award goes to Charles Victor Bambalera. Best Speaker Award goes to, through default, it's kind of anticlimactic, myself. Hopefully I helped you out.
Couldn't stop talking.
Hope you all have a great week. We look forward to seeing you next week. Let's get this room put back together. Meeting adjourned.